Yet again, we have experienced another gate, and this one has benefited the players. So during this gate, the ultra rare gear map was dropping these yellow bags. So upon completing the stages, you would receive one yellow bag. But these bags were actually farmable on the last two stages of this map. Now I know some people were disappointed because this map never respawned with the gear that we all desperately need, but many players, in my opinion, ended up benefiting from this goof up. In these yellow bags, there was one of 3 items, either a golden arrow, 10 red feathers, or 5 orange feathers, and the odds on these bags were great, about 33% for each of these items. Now, the reason why we need these items, well, actually, we only need the arrows. 4 arrows will get you 1,000 S-Class items. 6 arrows will get you 5 maxed out gold mods. And 9 arrows will get you the new toon, Mr. Jones. So unlike the Day of the Dead Gate, I actually was able to benefit from this. I was actually lucky enough to get enough arrows in order to get Mr. Jones, who, in my opinion, is a new and unique toon, but is definitely not game-breaking. Don't get me wrong, I was super excited in order to get him, and because it means I can test out the new ability, Infection. As you see, I'm opening up a bunch of these bags just to get my golden arrows. But the red feathers are pretty nice too, because they let you do the different roadmaps, which will let you farm for trainers. The orange feathers are kind of silly at this point, because now I've gotten all the letters that I need in order to complete the puzzles. I've been able to achieve almost all the Brady's, and I now have a ton of red feathers so that I can get a lot of basils. Now, I will still hold on to a few bags just to see if they will turn into anything else. So, something else that I found interesting to this event was that it told you that orange feathers would expire at the end of each phase, but here it shows that all my expired orange feathers have actually credited me with all these different letters, and this is how I was able to get the rest of the Brady's, as well as my S-Class items, the 333 S-Class items, that is. I had a ton of letters credited to me because of all the orange feathers that expired. So I was able to get practically every single Brady from this event, and that made me super excited and happy because I'm usually very low on trainers, and I'm very close right now to getting my S Priya. I was able to pick up my second 5-star Priya the other day, and I've been working towards maxing her out, because then I only need about 130 more ice cream cones in order to get an S-Class Priya, who will fit in perfectly on my attack team. And I know I've been talking about my attack team a lot, but I find that this game is mainly about attack. You don't end up scoring points by defending. Sure, defense is very important, because the better defense you have, the longer you can stay alive. But again, at this point in the game, there's no defense that's not unbeatable. So you have to be able to attack fast. You have to be able to score more points than the opponent can score off of you in the time that you're alive. In the end, you could have the best defense out there. You could get 100 defenses in a war match. But if you can't attack the opponent, what's the point in having all these defense? All the defense don't score you any points. It only slows you up and the opponent. You'll likely have to end up dropping defense unless the rest of your team is able to kill the opponent. A word of advice for all the free-to-play players and light spenders that end up watching my stuff. Think about a theory team. And by a theory team, I mean a team that you think will work in the future. That won't just work now and tomorrow, but moving forward. That's how I thought about my Diego team and the construction of it. I knew that it would take time to build towards it, but I knew that as soon as I had it, I would be able to attack most other people. When I build an attack team, I think about, okay, what type of team do I want to attack with this team? In the case of my Diego team, it's almost everyone.
So I need to think about the combinations that I need in order to succeed. Obviously, Diego's defense down is super important, and his impair. So I need him to survive the first turn, which is why I use Cole. Cole is able to taunt the opponent away from everyone else, so I usually have 3 opponents who are taunted towards Cole, which is super useful. Next, I need to make sure Diego builds a bit of his rush and doesn't get AP drained. So then on the second turn, I'll be able to command him with Glenn on the center toon. But if Diego does get AP drained or is not able to do his rush on the center toon for the second turn, I need to think of another option, which is again where Cole comes in. Because Cole has plus 20% AP to self when being attacked, he is perfect for this job because I am able to attack with him the next turn, and as long as I gain AP, I can command him to rush, which will again taunt 3 enemies and lower their attack. I use Glenn as my commander because he can hold a stun weapon, his rush can give attack up and confuse, and then his active skill is recover bleed, which would be very useful against Ralito leads. Because I don't run a disarm toon and I got rid of a disarm on Cole, I need to think of a way to keep my team attacking. So I gave many of them stun resist mods as well as impair resist, because that way I can attack any red toon or blue toon and potentially not get stunned or impaired. I run Priya because her special on her weapon Daze is super effective against all these toons that have turn 1 active skills. This helps me manage them because even if I attack Dr. Stevens with Priya because he's failed to be taunted, he won't be able to use his active skill to gain 100% AP. Lastly, by running James, I have an enormous amount of power. Just off of a basic attack, he is able to apply collateral 2 damage to the opponents. Now, with the new weapon update coming, and how toons with bound weapons can be given other weapons of the same trait, but given their stats, I'm looking forward to getting one of those green splash weapons. It appears like a paddle, and I think would be super effective on James, because he already has collateral 2. So by adding a weapon that does 80% splash damage to adjacent targets, I think could be absolutely devastating on James. So overall, with running Diego, Priya, James, Glenn, and Cole, I have toons that can taunt, stun, confuse, impair, and defense down, and no amount of modding is able to stop all of those abilities. On turn 2, I will have the option of taunting with Cole, rushing Priya, which would confuse a line of enemies as well as impair them, rushing Diego, who can defense down and impair enemies as well. If on turn 2 I am unable to use Diego's defense down, I can always use Cole's attack in order to taunt again, and on turn 3 I can use Diego's active skill, which is a full team focus, and then command him, so then I can attack anywhere on the other team regardless of if there's a human shield. I know I've explained this team quite a few times, but I feel like you should always be able to say something once, say it again, and say it a third time, because it's sometimes difficult to understand things the first time around, but hopefully, by constantly hearing it, you might be able to understand the thought process behind it. And now back to the Last Words event. This last match was just to see if I, for Immortal, had to do with raids and winning raids with everyone still alive. So the way that this all works right now, so prison, the words P stands for getting that Lucille that's at the end of the roadmap and then upgrading it once. So I just added 1% attack to it, which meant it was just 15 minutes in the armory that I could skip, and then I got my P. R stands for refills, so you just have to use a certain number of refills of any type of refill, so that's raid refills, that's territory refills, or world energy refills. And then when we go to I, as I mentioned, it has to do with raiding, and raiding with all teammates alive, so you'll be immortal. S stands for survival road, so you need to do multiple stages of survival road successfully, exactly 30 stages actually. O, you need to open some rewards, and that's not difficult. Basic tokens work, helper tokens work, really any of the tokens there that I've seen so far have worked for it. And then finally for N, it stands for acquiring 5 night vision goggles, and you can purchase those in the League store, thankfully. So it's not that difficult to find, say, in a roadmap or in your supply depot. For those of you who benefited from Jonesgate, congratulations, I did too for once and I'm super happy. For those of you who didn't, I'm sorry for your bad luck. Thanks for listening to my video.